Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night. It's 9:30. It's time to go behind the hedges. Tonight we have on our show a very special guest, a man very near and dear to my heart from the plains. And we're going to be talking about what the heck is going on at Auburn, Alabama. But before we do that, we must do this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to feed. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm thinking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. First of all, welcome back, Patrick. Thank you for being able to join us this week again, and welcome to the show again, Warren. How many times have you done this with us?
I only one time.
Really?
I'm surprised y'all asked me back, but yeah, I believe that one time we were talking about players getting paid. I remember that.
Yes. I am perpetually surprised at the things I allow myself to do more than once. So anyway, we are happy to have you here, regardless of what they might say. And so tonight we're going to be talking about Auburn. And boy, there seems to be a lot to say. And so over the course of the past few weeks, we've been previewing a few teams here. We did Tennessee, Texas A&M, Georgia, and now we will allow you to choose who goes next. Right? That's the honor you get right here. And you don't have to do that until the end, so you can think on it. But the Tennessee guys threw you on under the bus, so here we are, and what we've normally been doing is sort of treating it like an airport, arrivals and departures and those kinds of things. People are losing to the portal, to graduation, to the NFL draft, et cetera, and then they're gaining from recruiting in the portal and so forth, right? But with Auburn is a little different, as per usual. What is it that you always say about Auburn? They're the great ruiner of things, right?
There was an article Spencer Hall wrote, and it's the most brilliant thing that's ever been written about Auburn. Auburn is simultaneously the most overrated and underrated college football program in history. If they're predicted to do great, they'll crash the plane, and if they're predicted to be terrible, well, they'll rob the bank. And that's Auburn for you.
Yeah. So with that, I want to actually start tonight in sort of a reverse order. Pretty typical Auburn stuff. And let's start off with talking expectations first, and not only just expectations, but also approval rating. So let me prep this by saying, those of you who are not watching Josh Pate on Late Kick, do yourself a favor. The guy's gold. Go watch him, all right? And he had this thing on his show where he's talking about approval ratings of head coaches from their constituent fan bases. And he said, if I ask you the question, tell me the, 3 coaches in the SEC with the highest approval rating. It wouldn't take long before people would spit out names like Smart and Saban and probably Sam Pittman over at Arkansas, right? And I personally think that Sam Pittman should be number 1 on that list, but we'll, whatever. But if you ask somebody to spit out the 3 lowest approval ratings in the league, what would you come at? And I think that almost any casual SEC fan would probably arrive at Harsin pretty quickly, and then struggle with the 2nd and the 3rd lowest, right? So that's where I want to start. Warren, what can you tell us? Well, first of all, let's pretend that we're all 5 years old and we don't understand anything that's going on at Auburn, right? Can you give us a recap, just like the greatest hits of the past, since the guy was hired? What can you run through?
We don't have time, but I
can you do it in one tweet or less?
Well, the trustees are still running amok at the school. We're talking about a school that was once put on academic probation because of activities by the trustees. Some of the folks may not remember, in 2003, they went behind then Coach Tommy Tuberville's back somehow now, the senator, and said, and they tried to hire a coach. They tried to hire Petrino, I believe it was, and that was found out, right? Very much like they're like the Keystone Cops with this stuff, and so Tommy Tuberville capitalized on that. There was a huge backlash against the trustees at the time. Auburn very easily could have played in the national championship game in 2004. Um, and as it stands with Auburn right now, Harsin has more capital as coach than than at any time so far. I've not been a fan of Harsin from the beginning. I feel like he is in over his head. But that being said, I'm kind of with the fans now who would like to see him succeed, just to foil those trustees once again
Because
at
his
Auburn.
success means their failure. Is that
Yes,
I got you.
yeah,
Okay.
and I mean it was there. There are two factions there, right? Like there was the accusations that he was carrying on an affair with someone who was hired at the athletic department, and that this was leaked, as my understanding, through like some Bama message boards or something, which wouldn't surprise me if Auburn's trustees were behind that kind of stuff. But what ended up coming out in the following days that played out before I believe it was the SEC media days, is that he was going to be fired at any time, and then they were going to pay him a partial buyout, and then there was a discussion of paying him the $21 million buyout total to go away. But it's obvious that he's not the trustees guy, and if that's the case at Auburn, then the fans are going to be all in for him. I don't think that's going to do a lot of good for this season, but right now he's probably as popular as he's ever going to be, unless he can figure out a way to win.
Unless he can figure out. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so wow,
It's Auburn.
It's
it,
Auburn.
it is certainly that. So, what would you say right now if I ask you to give it a percentage, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where does his approval rating fall? If 10 is Sam Pittman, like where is his approval rating?
If 10 out of 1 out of 10,
Yeah,
his approval rating, I'd say 7.5, 8 right
no
now.
kidding,
No
no
kidding.
kidding.
Yeah. I
And
mean, the folks who are the diehards anyway were like really all in for him. And this, how this played out, how it embarrassed the university, the alumni, I know it's one of those things now where they really would like to see him succeed.
wow, wow. So what are we're going to talk more about this later when we talk about comings and goings and whatnot. But what are the expectations for Auburn's 2022 season? Now, let me ask it this way: Auburn lost their last 5 games of the year.
Hmm.
They finished 7-6 on the season. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I think they were
No, they finished 6-7, I believe,
6-7.
yeah,
Yeah, they were.
because they lost the Birmingham Bowl to Houston.
Okay, 6-7. The last part, they had Bama on the ropes in the Iron Bowl, and just had a
That would have done so much for his approval rating. I mean, it's the big rivalry game. I believe it would have been like 2013 with Gus Malzahn, though. It would have set up incredibly unrealistic expectations after, Gus in his first year takes him to the national championship game. And when you're not Kirby or Saban, that's kind of hard to maintain.
yeah.
That kind of,
So
strength.
so
What do I think they're going to do this year?
I'm trying to figure out a way to ask the question, but yeah, basically, what do you think they're going to do this year?
I think if they're lucky, they'll win 5 games. But we're talking about Auburn, and this is setting up to be one of those classic Auburn seasons where strange things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium. We know this, right? They very easily could start off the same way as last season. I think that they can beat Penn State at home. I think that's a possibility. But I mean, this may be a team that goes out and loses games that they should win and then turn around and upset Bama in the Iron Bowl again. That's just the nature of Auburn teams. And this is one of those classic seasons where they should fall flat on their face. They've got the third, I think by most rankings, the third hardest schedule. They've got an incredibly tough schedule.
That seems right.
Yeah.
So here it is. I'm just going to put on the screen here. Starting off with Mercer, San Jose State, and Penn State. I would imagine that the first 2 games are wins. Penn State is. I mean,
that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, but the thing is it's at Auburn, and
strange things happen to Jordan-Hare.
I can't remember if Sean Clifford is coming back from Penn State.
Yes, I believe so. I believe I read earlier he was.
He's basically the spark plug for that team.
Yep.
If he plays in that game, that's as good as they can get. I just don't think that.
I think if they pull it off, it's like 27-24, 28-21.
I mean, it would be
Auburn
very
if they do.
similar. It would be very similar to the game this past season, right? Like,
Exactly.
I see the game sort of flopping in the other direction. In other words, what I'm trying to say is I don't think Penn State's going to be as good this year as they were last year.
Right.
And then you guys get Missouri, which is I think Missouri is going to be a pushover this year. So out of your first 4 games, I see you guys at worst at 3-1 and at best 4-0.
Right.
Okay. And then you come in and you got LSU in Auburn.
At home.
Now you guys beat them in the swamp last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to play them at home. LSU is a team that really, really wants to rebound and get back to relevancy.
Auburn LSU is a tough game.
It is a very, very tough game. I agree. At best that game's a toss-up, right? So so Penn State and LSU are both toss-up games on your schedule so far.
Right.
Then you got to play Georgia in Athens,
Loss.
and let's just call it what it is.
Right.
Georgia's a monster right now, and they've been monstrous to Auburn, particularly over the past few years. And it's just
this is not the Auburn-Georgia rivalry of our childhood either, right?
No,
that's the thing is, it's completely changed. Georgia it has the upper hand, and in my opinion, will for quite some time. It would take one of those crazy, stupid, fluky upset games that nobody could have predicted. I don't see that happening. I think there's a chance that Auburn could lose to Georgia, go into a tailspin. They go into Ole Miss. I believe that they could lose Ole Miss at Oxford. Arkansas it's one of those things with Arkansas and Auburn. It's kind of like Auburn at Florida. Florida never wants to play Auburn at home because it's just things that we've always played or Florida tough. Knocked them off at number 1 like 3 or 4 times. It's a ridiculous stat. And then you get Mississippi State, which I think is the next winnable game, but I don't think it's a guarantee.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Texas A&M kind of falls under that same. So I'm looking here like definite wins: Western Kentucky, Missouri, Mercer, San Jose State. I count 4 definite wins. I count Georgia, and I won't say that Alabama is a definite loss, but I will say there is at least one other definite loss, right? So you got 4 in the bag wins, 2 in the bag losses, and that leaves 6 toss-up games.
And that's where Auburn proves to be Auburn in those games, right? They could go in a tailspin, drop 5 in a row, or they could go into some crazy winning streak, end up, going into the Iron Bowl for the SEC West. I'm not saying that they're going to win the SEC West. I'm just saying it's Auburn.
Right. And if that did happen and you woke up the next morning, it's not like you're going to throw yourself off of a cliff or anything. You just say, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got a little comment here from Facebook user says, please beat Ole Miss. Don't know who you are, Facebook user, but sure, why not? Let's beat Ole Miss. But you know how I bet that is? That's bet $1. That's Brandon, young Brandon. He is not a fan of Lane Kiffin. So
I
yeah,
like what Lane brings to the SEC. I like personalities. You know what I mean?
I mean, I agree. It's like you know what you're going to get with him, and that is you don't know what you're going to get.
Kind of like with Auburn football this year.
Right. So
it's conventional wisdom says that Auburn wins 4 games. It's going to be another tough season. They don't know who the quarterback. There's five potential quarterbacks at Auburn at this point. The receiver core is decimated. You had I think it was like so many defensive starters are gone. I can't even recall the stat.
Hold on to that though, because we're going to be talking about that in coming up soon. So before we close this segment, let me ask you to pick for me I need a basement and a ceiling. Right? I need a worst possible case scenario, best possible case.
Worst case 4 wins, best case, absolute best case 9 wins.
Wow, so somewhere between 4 and 9.
That's Auburn. We've had this conversation many times, and anybody who is an Auburn fan who maybe listen to this are like, that dude knows what's up. I mean, it's It's Auburn, and if that's why I'm so damn excited about this season. Like for me, all of the unknowns. When you get a season where there's so many unknowns with Auburn, more often than not, Auburn rises to the occasion, right? But there's
Yeah.
always the time that they have completely tripped over their own feet and landed flat on their face, and that's not out of the realm of possibilities with this.
So I'm gonna go absolute best. I want to say 8 wins. 8 wins is ceiling.
Hmm.
And I can't even go as low as you on the floor. I gotta go like 5. I think a 5-7 season is about as bad as it's going to get.
You're
So
probably closer to it, but I mean, it's just so many unknowns with
yeah,
Auburn,
yeah.
and how they're going to do. And I'm not convinced that Harson's the guy for the job.
All right. So everybody stick around. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of those unknowns. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're talking Auburn and their upcoming 2022 season. Let's get into it. What do you say? But before we do that, let's do this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm thinking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Hey, welcome back, boys. Good to have you all tonight. Welcome, Mr. Tidwell from the great state of Alabama, and Patrick. Welcome back to you as well, sir, from
Yes, sir.
the Tar Heel state.
Yes, sir. The
Yeah,
basketball state.
the basketball. How is
Hey,
basketball?
can we talk about Auburn basketball? That'd be great.
I
Let's do
tell you
that.
what, has anybody seen Tom Crean lately? Is that man still alive? They had Tennessee on the ropes at halftime tonight, and Georgia wound up. I was in the chat earlier. We were talking about how it would be the most Georgia thing
To win by 40.
to win by 40 against Tennessee and let Crean keep his job for a little while. And I said, wait a second. After a while, I thought that's not the most Georgia thing. That's the most Auburn thing.
Yes, it is. Especially when it comes to football.
So we just got off the conversation about expectations and like how is this season going to go, and it's like who knows, man. That it's a scatter shot, right? Like there is a huge continuum of how this season could go. So let's talk about some reasons. Let's talk about this first. What's changing? Okay. I want to hit some obvious ones, but now you're going to know way more depth than I do. Clearly. Losing Bo Nix he's gone. He's going to Auburn, right? I'm sorry, he's going to Oregon. He's going over to Oregon, play for new head coach Dan Lanning, formerly defensive coordinator for Georgia. So, how does that sit with you?
I liked Bo. I think that the fans were entirely too tough on him. He never had 2 straight years with the same coordinator. Now, do I think that he's a world beater? No. But I think that there was never an appreciation for the good things he did. And let's be honest, he had unreasonable expectations from the time he came in with who his dad was at the program.
Right.
And then starting off and beating Oregon on the last play, again, typical Auburn fluky game, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where at his freshman year, I hate it because I know that it was a kid's dream to play for the school. And I think that right there told me that there's more going on that meets the eye with some of the behind the scenes stuff with the coaching and stuff like that. Because, I mean, he had 1 year, and when you look at the depth chart at Auburn at quarterback, we had TJ Finley, who the fans were convinced was going to come in, even though he didn't. He couldn't figure out how to do it at LSU, but he was going to magically figure it out at Auburn. I like TJ, but I never thought TJ was the answer. I think that just like this season, the fans are going to have a lot of unreasonable expectations, no matter who is chosen.
Didn't Calzada come over now?
Yeah,
from A&M.
Yeah, you got Calzada. I honestly can't tell you. I don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback. I have no idea because of all of those unknowns. But I do know that no matter what happens, you're going to have that contingency of the fan base, just like every other fan base, that is like, we're going to win a national title, right? And then the first time they have a bad game, they're going to be screaming for him. There'll be people who, like Stetson Bennett the fourth. There were people who thought that he wouldn't win a national title at Georgia.
No,
Most of us thought that.
I know.
those
That's for
people don't
Ducati.
exist.
That's for Ducati, who's not here.
Yeah,
But
Mark,
no,
let's see, that's at
But guess what?
the
He did.
yeah, he did. He
at
did.
the 20-minute mark. I need to remember to clip that audio out. No, we'll use that as a stinger on a later episode.
There you go.
Yeah, there were people who thought Stetson couldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. People were saying, but the point is that in every SEC program like Auburn, I think Auburn, the fans have gotten to this point where they have unreasonable idea of where the program is, right?
What kind of car do you drive, right?
Right, and I think that we're going to get to that point to where we can't just chalk it up to this could be an Auburn season. I think that Auburn is headed for some bad seasons. I think that they're going to slip into a little bit of mediocrity. But the game has changed so much. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the transfers and the NIL stuff and all of that. And so I can't make an informed, decision or prediction on that because we don't know who the hell's going to sign next year, right?
Right.
And come in the year after.
Right. I've heard it seems like the coaches who speak out the most about it are the coaches that are at the top of the league. You hear negative things from Saban, Smart, Sweeney, coaches of that ilk talking about how this transfer portal thing, this NIL thing, it's all bad business, and at the same time they understand that whether it's good or bad or whatever is immaterial.
Right.
Because it is business.
Yes.
And because it is business, you better have a firm grasp on it, right?
Right.
And so those guys can talk about how they hate it, but you better believe they're playing the game. Because I
don't think there's any hard quotes out there from Harsin, but the stories are that Harsin doesn't care for the NIL stuff, right? And is very much of the of Dabo Swinney, thought process when it comes to those kind of things, and maybe a bit of a purist, but at the same time, as freaked out as we used to get off of losing starters, off of transfers, and all of this, Auburn had a mass exodus this year, which I think is absolutely going to affect them this fall.
22 guys leaving.
I think it was more, most in Division I.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
I looked at it earlier and I forgot. So I think there were 26 names in the portal and 26 in the portal, and 4 of them were incoming.
Right.
Yeah. So I had that somewhere.
It kind of be, Gus Malzahn was really good at getting the transfers in to fill gaps, right? The junior college transfers was a master of that. But was really good at giving Georgia players second chances.
Oh God, yes, and Florida players for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. That Auburn that Auburn second chance transfer portal.
It's almost as good as Saban's coaching clinic, right?
Exactly. A little self-deprecating humor there for Auburn, but let's be honest, they did give some folks like 14th chances, and so it's tough to know how that's going to affect Auburn. But I think in the immediate, their depth, everything is going to be affected this year. That's why I lean towards more of the 4-win season than the bigger than the 9-win season.
So what's concerning to me, if I'm an Auburn fan, is that not only the number of guys, but look at this: wide receiver. Then you got D-line, tight end, D-line, quarterback, linebacker, D-line, cornerback, another cornerback, another linebacker, another D-line, another safe, another D-line, another D-line. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's losing guys is rough.
I think Auburn is on the edge of if Harsin is indeed the guy, well, he's got a lot to sort out. And if he doesn't, that was about to say, Tennessee, welcome to the club. Auburn is on the cusp of becoming what Tennessee became for quite a few years. And I don't think Auburn fans realize that because of the unreasonable expectations they've had. Because Auburn, every 2 or 3 years, will come up and have like crazy seasons, beat number 1 teams, play for the SEC title and or play, in contention the SEC West. I think those days we're on the edge of those being behind us for a few years and wandering the wilderness for a while.
You guys are you saying that a reasonable expectation, or excuse me, a reasonable goal for each year would just be get bowl eligible?
I think so, and my personal feelings is that um, unless Harsin is something I don't think he is, and within a couple of years figures it out, Auburn's going to be in the market for another coach. They're going to be paying that, just like that second chance transfer portal. We love firing coaches and paying them tons of money, right? And so they're probably going to be paying a chunk of a buyout, Harsin, and it depends on what coaches are available, but this is not the time for instability in college football.
Correct.
And Auburn is so unstable right now.
So I want to ask. I have is it 5 coordinators now that have left?
I believe so. When you're an Auburn fan, you just kind of say, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about it.
So I can, all right. So I get it. Like Bobo came back to Georgia. He's been with us before in the past, and he seemed, the baby bird flies back home to the nest and all that good business. Oh, what is this? Talking about my Puma? Where's it at? Right there? Yeah. Please. So the one that I'm most curious about though is Derek Mason. So I thought that Derek Mason did a really good job last year with Auburn's defense. Auburn's defense was very solid and very stingy.
Yep.
And if you don't believe me, ask Alabama.
Right.
Or go back and watch the Iron Bowl. Alabama could not get out of the freaking locker room because Auburn was holding the door, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the season, you think, all right, so it wasn't such a great season, but really Auburn didn't give up all that much. It's like even the teams that were supposed to quote unquote steamroll them didn't exactly do that.
A few plays ago, it's one of those seasons where we've had fluky seasons in the past where the ball bounced the way that we needed it to, right?
Sure, yeah.
And you have games like the Mississippi State game, the ones that got away, and you're looking at maybe a 8-win season, and that's a whole hell of a lot better than what happened, and attitudes would have been a little different just because of the way that the circumstances were in the games. I think we're looking at another very similar season. It just depends on where the plays break in a lot of cases. But I know that the teams with depth are going to beat Auburn.
I want to know the answer to this question, though. Why did Derek Mason leave to go to Stillwater?
That is why I think Harsin's going to be gone in a couple of years. It's one thing, and this is a conversation I had with someone. Someone was like, he's an authoritarian, he does it by the book, and he's a strong guy, and we need a strong person with these trustees we have. And I'm like, well, then why does Saban have such stability in his program? Yes, coordinators come and go with Saban as well, but they don't quit a month after he hires them.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Right. And take a unilateral job move. You know what I mean? Like
if that, right? Like, I mean, that's what we were looking at. That's more of the things that has me concerned, right? You have legacy players transferring. You have huge amounts of players transferring. On social media, yes, some of the black players defended Harsin, but let's be honest, there were a lot of the black players that said that Harsin had a hard time identifying with them and their situation coming from some of the backgrounds that they came from. And that's troubling. So I have reasons for not caring for Harsin, but at the same time, like, there's not a lot of good signs for long-term stability or for him being able to be successful at the school.
Right on. Hey boys, that's been excellent. I want to talk a little bit more about not just what's changing, but what's going to stay the same. But before we do that, I think we need to take a look at this real quick. Hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Hedges. I'm your host, Mitch, and tonight we're talking about Auburn's upcoming football season, 2022. And now we're going to get ready to talk about what is staying the same amidst all this trouble. But before we do that, let's do this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Hey guys, welcome back. what do you say we wrap this bad boy up here, huh? um, so we've talked about expectations and we've talked about things that have changed, right? So I want to know what is staying the same, and try to get an Auburn perspective, but I also want to get a dog perspective on this too. What is staying the same in Auburn that has got you excited?
Staying the same that has me excited. I
Or
can't.
does that thing not
That
exist?
doesn't exist. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, I'm sitting here trying to take a holistic view of everything at Auburn, and I can't find a whole heck of a lot to feel good about. Now there are going to be fans that may listen to this, and we've got some fans with the case of the for reals and think that Harson's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'd love to see their evidence for it. Um, but the fact of the matter is, University of Alabama had the same issues that Auburn had with the big money donors and the trustees and the people meddling in the program, and they brought Saban in, and that ended, and that's why they've been able to be successful. If Harson indeed turns out to be that person who this is just some growing pains because he's, excising the cancers or whatever it is that people are saying, I don't know, but I don't think so. The trustees are still there. Jimmy Rain is still influential in the program. I'm sure they just feels like we don't know all the ins and outs of what happened with that situation with the trustees and Harson, but it doesn't feel like much has changed outside of the fact that Harson weathered it, and as a result has some capital with some of the fans, right?
Sure.
And I've encountered that part of the fans, being that every stadium has all of these luxury boxes and things, and so buddy of mine years ago were given tickets to scholarship level seats. Now this was back when I drank. I don't drink anymore, but we were out at a bar in Auburn getting ready to go to the game, pounded a bunch of beers. We go get on the elevator. They let us out at the luxury boxes. Now here we are looking like Dale or Tucker and Dale from Tucker and Dale versus Evil walking into this very luxury people in suits and the caviar and champagne and all of this that a lot of SEC folks probably aren't aware are going on during the game. It's a different world. We got to bump up against that power structure, right?
Mhm.
And of course, we were kicked out immediately. And it's like, but we came out and we were like, wow, that was surreal. That was literally like feeling like we were on another planet at a different game.
Mhm.
And the average fan cannot wrap their head around how the the big money donors and the trustees and things, the way that they see the game is different than we do, and they're meddling to them that power, that's whatever they've got to do for whatever reason that drives them to do this. Auburn has a very specialized version of that.
Mhm.
And until that is nipped in the bud, we're going to come back here year after year, every few years, if we talk about this, and we're going to be talking about some of the same problems. My feeling is Auburn has another losing season next year. The year after, maybe salvage 6 to 8 wins. That might buy Harson another year, but in 2 years, I think Brian Harson's going to be gone.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, Patrick, I want to ask you, what are you looking forward to as when as it pertains to Auburn?
Well, as far as what's staying the same, and me being a Georgia fan, I'm happy that it's staying the same right now. I'm happy that Harson's doing what does, and the boosters are doing what the boosters trustees do. I'm happy that Bo Nix left. Not that we couldn't beat Bo Nix because we came to Jordan Hare and we did that.
Yeah.
But as an SEC fan and a college football fan in general, all in all, I'm not that happy with where Auburn's at because, this patch right here means a lot to all of us.
Yeah.
Football means something right here,
Yeah.
and I know it's going to bounce back. Right now, the Dogs are up, the Tigers are down. 4, 6, however many years, from now, things will stretch out and Auburn will be back up and we may be back down. It'll come and go. That's part of being the Deep South Soldiers rivalry like we are. But normally I'm not all that reserved when it comes to my particular feelings towards teams. Mitch can tell you that. Luckily, you're not a Florida fan, so you got. But I mean, I did have to put a very subtle little jab on you, as you can see.
Yeah,
Zeus running all over you guys a couple years ago.
Well, I do want to share something with you real quick. I'm probably the only Auburn fan that has a picture of Bear Bryant behind him for his calls. Was one of my, yeah, think about that. Was one of my uncle's best friends. That's who's better, and he's in the picture with him, and was a wonderful human being. Was very nice to my uncle. I ended up going to the University of Alabama, and people ask me why I'm an Auburn fan. It's because I moved to Tuscaloosa for a little while. That's why. And I ended up in Auburn. That's what it took, but that's a special picture to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, Mitch, to finish up this point, you made the comment in the earlier segment about Warren talking to us like we're 5-year-olds that don't know anything about Auburn and what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll be 45 next week, and I don't know what the hell's going on in Auburn right now.
It's part of being. It's what I love about being an Auburn fan, right? Like it is. I've been an Auburn fan for 25 years now, and in the interest of full disclosure, of course, I was raised a Bama fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I equate that to being raised in a cult. You're not given a choice, and so when I went to Bama and they played these football highlights at my academic, the orientation, I'm like, I'm never playing football here. I want football everything, right? And I have people I love, I adore in Tuscaloosa. I really do. And I have a lot of good friends there. But my brother talked me into moving to Auburn. I fell in love with the town. And before the big streak, Auburn was winning the big streak. I became a fan back when Auburn was not very good. And what I loved about Auburn fans back then is they would look at you and they'd say, we're not very good. And Bama fans would be like, we're going to win a national title next year. And I just liked that it was more fun. And part of that fun is the uncertainty, right? I get winning championships is fun. I mean, but it comes to a point to where it's like you're playing to not win. I mean, to not lose. And
Right.
yeah, all of that is great. But, I got to tell y'all, I've enjoyed the hell out of being an Auburn fan. I mean, if you think of the crazy things that have happened in Jordan-Hare and all of these wild memories and stuff.
Yeah, you guys have persistently had the yeah but factor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
so anytime there's the people, anytime that we're standing around the grill and having a few drinks or whatever, and somebody, well, you guys, blah blah blah, and then the Auburn fan can always say, yeah, but remember that time,
Right.
and then you're like,
I mean, especially for Florida fans, all right? Like,
name a team that doesn't have a yeah but moment with Auburn. Like
Auburn's a great ruiner of things.
The great ruiner of things.
We would either ruin somebody's season, or we'll ruin our
your own.
But we're gonna ruin a season somewhere.
So there's the GIF. I'm sure you've. I know Patrick's seen it. Whatever, with Kirby standing on the sideline eating the popcorn at a. He's looking at a high school recruit, I think, and he's eating the popcorn, and so the camera is on him, and then the kid on the field does something amazing, and Kirby just like goes, whoa, and then like turns around like, did you see that with his popcorn? And so I love that. I love that little GIF. But when I bring that up because when I look at what's going on in Auburn, that's me. I'm Kirby. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on in Auburn, but I know that whatever it is,
anybody who tells you they know are lying to you.
Right. I just know that whatever it is ain't good for them, and that means it's good for us, right? And so I just eat my popcorn on the sideline. So I don't know if Harson's the guy or not. I don't know, and I mean, honestly, don't care. Like it's not my.
Well, people ask me who would they hire, and I'm like, I don't know, but right now Harsin is the coach, and I know that with Gus, you were going to get a decent season every 2 to 3 years, and let's be honest, the SEC and college football in general, like everybody wants to win a national title every single year, and a lot of programs expect to do that every single year. Very few get to the level that Georgia has now, right? With Alabama, I never dreamed in the modern era you would see what has gone on at the University of Alabama in championships and things, right?
No, it's crazy.
But if anyone's going to follow that up right now, and if anyone's going to take up that mantle, that dynasty, I mean, it's a good time to be a Georgia fan.
Sure. Yeah,
I agree.
Kirby's 10 years younger than Saban was when he started this run.
Right.
and off to a better start.
And he's already got his foot in the door.
I think he's a better coach than Dabo Swinney as well. A lot of folks thought Dabo would be the one to take that up. So
I'll be fair and say that Dabo's not a bad coach.
No.
I will say that what Dabo struggles with is the change in the game. There is a change in the game, and like we said earlier, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, it's there. And Dabo hasn't quite figured out how to put himself aside and just sort of embrace those changes. And I think he's going to get left. I think Clemson, unless Dabo is able to shift that paradigm, that thought paradigm, I think they're going to get left in the dust, man. You know, the teams that are able to embrace that and just sort of roll with it, those are the teams that are going to be around.
The story is that Harsin is kind of an old school, hard nosed guy, and that's not going to fly anymore. I mean, you've got to figure out a way to work with the NIL stuff, with the transfers.
I mean, still recruiting is absolutely essential. Like you must stock the shelves, right? You must stock the shelves. Then you got to keep the stuff on the shelves, right? And then maybe steal something from somebody else's shelves.
Players have never had more power than they have right now in college athletics, right?
And that's really exciting to me.
It's exciting to me. I think it's great.
I mean, there's times when it makes me want to pull my freaking, tongue out of my head, but like, it is what it is. I mean, Jermaine Burton's leaving us.
Well, it is 18 to 22, 23-year-old players, kids. They're big damn kids, but it's the decisions that are being made. It's amazing how we as grown men let those things affect our day-to-day life. But I think that when the money that is in the NCAA football, the money that is in the SEC, it really felt like to me that the just came. That was for Mikey.
We did it just for you, brother.
I did that just for you, Mikey. But the money that's there and the money that the SEC is bringing now, I really felt like when they were getting Oklahoma and Texas, we're looking at a move. To me, in my opinion, it felt like they were trying to do something to uncouple from the NCAA and create this super league. And I still think that's a possibility. Our colleges are attached to minor league football teams that are feeder to the NFL. The game is going to change in our lifetime so incredibly and so drastically, and we're not going to be able to fight it. And if you're a coach and you do that, you're not going to be successful.
Sure. I can't wait to have you on the show where we talk about that kind of stuff. In fact, this might be that show. Right. So boys, I have thoroughly enjoyed having you on. I hope you all stick around for the after party, but maybe we could have some of those conversations about what this thing is going to look like in the future. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see y'all next Tuesday. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe these videos. I'm going to be rolling out the segments of this chat we've had tonight, one a day for the next all the way to Friday. So you subscribe to the channel, you'll get to see the highlights of this stuff. But stick around. Here comes the after party. So welcome. Okay. This is the stuff that won't get cut up. So if you're not watching this live, you're just SOL, brother. So I know we've talked before, Warren, about the minor league football, minor league NFL. Like this is the NCAA football is basically the NFL's farm system, right?
Yep.
So here is an idea that sort of just popped in my head while I was driving one day, right? Why don't we if the NFL has got so much stake in it, they're getting this player development for free. You know what I mean? They're getting free player development and they just reap the benefits of it. Why isn't the NFL asked to contribute something financially? Now, would that be to NIL stuff or, so like say your Seattle Seahawks wanted to attach themselves to a program like Oregon or Washington State, right? Or like, what I mean? Like any of those Pac-12 sort of teams, wouldn't it behoove them to sort of like pour money into that league? I'm just thinking here. What about the players that are going to come in with an NIL deal? Let's take DJ Uyunglele for a second. I'll just use him. Here's another Mike. I'm tossing you another bone there, Mikey. Let's see here.
Oh, the guy that we like to give hugs. Yeah, I think we gave him 7. I think we gave him 7 hugs.
7 hugs. We hugged him numerous times. Gave him some get well soon balloons. But when that first game, the Georgia Clemson game, first game of the season, you know what I mean? Like it's the early marquee matchup. Bang, we're right out of the gate. We're just gonna bang heads, you know. And I remember watching the game, and it's like, obviously, it's a brutal, slugfest or whatever.
Hell of a game.
Some people might say slog fest, but whatever you want to call it. But about midway through the first quarter, we cut to a commercial break, and there's a Dr. Pepper commercial featuring number 5, Big Cinco, right? He was on the commercial, DJ Uyunglele. And the game didn't go the way that they had hoped it would, right? And I didn't see him on any more Dr. Pepper commercials. So what's up with that? Like you go to a school and you say, hey, I'm signing a $1.1 million deal with soft drink X, and they're going to put my face on the TV screen, like Dr. John would say about the Rolling Stone,
Right.
So what happens when it goes bad? The company doesn't want you around. You know what I mean? Like that's you kind of pooped in the bed there, DJ. So going to remove your face from that screen. Where does the money go then? So wouldn't it be interesting to see these people sign these deals as sort of more like long-term deals, so that you don't just get paid that money? Like, we're not going to just swoop in and say, here's a bag full of cash, Tennessee fans. Here's a bag full of cash, and we're just going to throw that right on you. We'll offer you this deal, and if these signposts are met, along the way, these boxes get checked, then you will receive this upon graduation, upon entering the league, whatever. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. So thoughts?
I think it's you spitballing. Like, we could come up with any number of predictions. We're in the Wild West phase of this, right?
Correct.
Like,
yes.
and the potential for abuse is apparent. We went from a lot of colleges, as a lot of college football fans don't realize that, some of these scholarships are year to year depending on the program, right? So if you get hurt in between your freshman and sophomore year and you can't play anymore, well, you don't necessarily get a college degree.
Correct.
And so to get the players to sign and to stay, they're like, well, we'll give you 4 year, we'll honor 4 years for you, right? And so that changed a lot of it, but now that the money is at the collegiate level, right? And I speak openly and honestly about this. A great deal of those players aren't college material, should have never been there, should not have to, this one skill they have, right? This marketable thing they have to pursue a degree, do all the work that requires in order to profit from what they bring to the table and to the field, as it were.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're going to see is there's going to be a lot of unique solutions bringing those things in. And I just don't want us to get to a point to where we can't have these shows predicting anything, because we don't know who the hell the team's going to be a year later, right? And we don't know that you're going to have tens of millions of dollars at one program, because the big programs are going to continue to be the big programs. Those Texas programs have a lot of money, as evidenced by what's going on at A&M. So I think that what's going to end up happening there, we're going to hit this critical mass point. Where something has to give, right? And at that point in time, my prediction is that, and the NFL's changing, right? XFL's partnering up with the NFL now, so they've got their own things going on. I could foresee a day where we're talking about, the Athens Bulldogs, right? Or something like that, where they're uncoupled from the schools themselves, and then become some sort of other entity. So again, who knows? I mean, that makes as much sense as anything that I could potentially see coming.
It's just interesting to think about. And somebody told me the other day that when somebody says something is interesting, that means they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to think about, like, decoupling these things. Like, what if it was just the instead of the Ohio State Buckeyes? What if it was just, you know, the Columbus Buckeyes or whatever, you know?
I
Or the
honestly
Athens
think
Bulldogs.
that's what's coming.
And you know, if so, then wouldn't you see it turn into more of sort of like a minor league NFL situation? Something that's appealing to me, and I'm sure to you guys as well, is like the regionalism of college
Right.
football. You know, how it's like this is where I'm from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is my people. You know, and sort of the how do I want to say like you know, we bring in okay, Brock Bowers comes in from Napa, California. Keely Ringo comes in from Arizona. Where is AD Mitchell from?
Oh, you know, you got me on that one.
I don't think he's a Georgia boy.
No, I don't think he is either.
I mean, I could obviously look it up, but the point is like, you know, here's all these kids making these plays for Georgia. He's from Texas. Yeah, AD Mitchell's from Texas.
Yeah.
So you got a Texas guy, you got a California guy, you know, Arizona guy, so forth and so on, right? These are the guys who make it. And so it's like, I want to say, yeah, that's my team, those are my people, but really those kids are from all over the country. You know, now you got Bo Nix going to play in Oregon. You know, you got Caleb Williams going to play in where is he now? He's at USC, right?
Yeah.
But was it Oklahoma? And then, you know, it's like everybody's all over the place. You know what I mean? And Jermaine Burton, he's a California kid who played for Georgia, but now is going to Alabama. You know, so like, what the heck, man? We don't even what is regionalism?
The world has shrunk. The world has shrunk so much, and it's.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware. A few years ago, this may not be the case anymore, but for a time, maybe 5, 6 years ago, the University of Alabama had more out-of-state students than in-state students.
Yeah,
right.
Okay. I believe
That's amazing. That's amazing to me. You know, that the Capstone University, they say, you know, the state university system has more out-of-state students, and it's because kids want to come where there's a winning football program, right?
Sure,
Georgia's going to see a ton of stuff, a ton of folks coming in, and it allows you, of course, to pull out from all over the place. But it's interesting to see my son, my nephew, the young folks I know, like when I was a kid, going to California to stay for an extended period of time was just unthinkable. And the world has shrunk so much for them that it's not. I think regionalism, point being, it's there's things that we're going to have to let go of as college football fans, and that may be one of those things that goes by the wayside as this evolves.
Yeah. Who was that? One of the guys. Dang, it might have been Chris Milton, who came to Georgia and said one of the first things he said was that I don't like sweet tea. And people were like, whoa. Pump the brakes on that. Right. You know?
Wrong part of the country.
Right. And but then again, it's like you see them tote the rock and you're like, we're gonna let it ride.
Okay. let's get him an NIL deal with Milo's unsweet tea, right?
For real, dude. Milo's, holy cow, man. Let me just say, right, if you're watching out there in Legoland and you ain't never had some Milos in your life, what are you doing? You're living wrong, right? Get up and go get the Milos. That's one of those things. You can bring Milos to the family reunion and grandma won't ask you to leave. You know,
right. It's acceptable.
I got to run, boys. All right. Sorry to cut this off so short, but we'll talk again soon. Later, everybody.
Later.